Welcome to Mike's to the Round Table, presented by Cinescape Media. We're here. We're going to set the table with topics from all areas of the world. This show is brought to you by the Cinescape Media Network. Be sure to visit cinescape.media for a complete listing of all the great podcasts and content we have available. My name is Mike Shea, and joining us at the table today, we have Dex Burgess and Sean Harrigan. How are you, fellas?
Glad to be back.
Also joining us right below me is Bill Rowdy Tozzi, also known as Porn Stash Tom from MySpace. Good. Look at that. It's like a fucking caterpillar, got on steroids and just died on his lip.
And Bill's not here this week, so I had to find an appropriate picture for you to put him up. You had one of me up there last week with a goofy looking smile or something on my face. So, it's his turn. Anybody who's going to be absent, they just get a goofy picture. That's
what you got to deal with. You have to just live with it. I've got plenty, so God help me the day I'm not here. Dex, how are you, man?
Doing good.
First of all, happy belated Father's Day to both of you guys. Both of you have kids.
Thank you.
And you Bill, whatever. So
he's got dogs.
It's true. He's got dogs. He's a dog.
He's a dog dad.
I was gonna say we call him a dog daddy, but that's a level of suggestiveness I don't think this show is ready for yet.
Well, I wouldn't put it past him.
So before we get into the main topic here today, something I like to ask people from time to time. What are you guys watching right now? Anything good?
Yeah. My wife and I, we just finished the 4th season of The Last Kingdom.
Okay.
It's on Netflix. It's also on BBC if you're one of the blokes across the pond there to watch it on there. Great show. It's taking place in the 900 AD time frame. England wasn't even a thing yet. It's this guy Uhtred. He was captured by the Danish raiders as a child and raised as a Norseman, and then goes back to get his family's lands and titles back, and gets embroiled and enveloped in all sorts of political intrigue with the various kingdoms, with the old style spellings, Wessex and Mercia and all these really outlandish places. Really, really fun show. It kind of fills the void of that medieval style show of Game of Thrones. That's gone. So I think this started in 2015. Excuse me. Actually, just last night, should be posted up on our website, Cinescape.media. Shameless plug there. I actually wrote a complete list of 10 recommended shows of the past 10 years. So look for that soon. So a bunch of great shows on there we could go on and on about. But what else? Dex, what are you watching?
Right now, I'm watching Portals to Hell with the Jack Osmond and her chick, and they're doing the hauntedest, whatever places you want to call it. And then me and the wife have been burning through Bones and American Dad.
Oh man, American Dad's got such great rewatchability.
Yes.
We actually just started Hunters as well on Prime. It's Al Pacino's in it, Logan Lerman. They're in in the 70s, and it's Nazis are actually they're actually in the country, and their ragtag team gets together to hunt Nazis down for their war crimes and everything. It's a very tough watch. I mean, we're only 3 episodes in as of right now, but I mean, just the imagery of the scenes from the Holocaust and the extreme measures that it's tough to talk about, to be honest with you. So take that take it with a grain of salt. Go into it expecting to see some shit. So very, very, very good show. Highly recommend if you have Prime.
I just got done binging all 8 seasons of Letterkenny for the first time. If you've never seen Letterkenny, it's this super hyper Canadian comedy show about a bunch of hicks in Canada. With
the red green show.
The red.
You remember it?
It's like Trailer Park Boys and Red Green and Green Acres had a baby. I mean, it's just so bizarre, but it is unbelievably funny. The writing is fast paced and witty and creative. It's a really funny show. K. Trevor Wilson, who's a really funny Canadian comedian, has got a part in it. He does a great bit about Captain Crunch. Very good chance to check it out. And then
I've seen that clip. A bigger guy, right?
A big dude.
Yeah, I've seen that clip before doing in a stand-up of his. It was freaking hilarious. I loved it.
He's so fun. Yeah, it's a great show if you get a chance to check it out. It's super Canadian, but it's wonderful. I binged the first season of this show on Hulu called The Great. It's a satirical look at the rise of Catherine the Great in Russia. It's really funny. I mean, it's very satirical. They say on the title card of every episode, "The Great, *, a sometimes true story." Nicholas Holt's in it. He plays Peter the Great, who's just an unbelievable asshole. And then today I
could see him playing a role like that. Actually,
he's fantastic. It is.
I bet he is.
And then today I finally started watching that DC Universe Harley Quinn cartoon.
Ah, boy.
It is funny.
Is it? Yeah.
It is funny as hell. Like, fuck Suicide Squad, fuck Birds of Prey. Like, Kaylee Cuoco was born to be Harley Quinn. This is.
Oh, she voices her, yeah.
Yeah,
I remember that.
Funny. Too damn funny. Really not for kids. Really supremely not for kids. Holy cow, it's so not for kids. It's ridiculous. But Bill, what are you watching? Nothing? All right, cool. So let's move on. So we're in the podcasting business, and a business it seems to truly be becoming. Haha, that was clever. Because right now some big names in the entertainment world are making some big money podcast deals. In the last 6 months, we've seen Larry King, Joe Rogan, and as recently as this past week, Kim Kardashian sign podcast exclusivity deals with companies like Spotify and 4for4 in the millions of dollars to make podcasts for Spotify and these other companies. And it's kind of got people, kind of on our level, kind of scratching their head going, is podcasting going to wind up going the way of other entertainment like television and film, where now suddenly it's only for the famous? Is podcasting going to go, because up until now it's been kind of the pirate radio of the modern age. And are we going to see it now transitioning so into the mainstream that now there's exclusivity deals being signed to apps that are going to make it harder for, smaller scale shows to get discovered? Kim Kardashian, especially when you look at things like Kim Kardashian is being signed on to produce a criminal justice reform podcast because she went and visited the White House one time and got Trump to release someone from, I believe from Kanye's family. Joe Rogan, his show, which is already massive, is going to be moving over to Spotify. And Larry King, his show is called The Millionth Question, which is a celebrity interview podcast, also known as what he's been doing for the last 50 years already.
We got Noam from Brooklyn calling in tonight. Noam, what are you up to?
So this isn't the first time celebrities have made podcasts. Celebrities have been making podcasts for a long time, but this is the first time there's been like actual money involved. Sean, let's go to you first, man. Just kind of get your general feelings about all this and what you're thinking, and what do you got, man?
Yeah, just to go off what you were just saying with, the celebrities have been in the podcast game, the whole time. This isn't anything new. I mean, you have your Mark Marons of the world who were big pioneers of podcasting. You really got it into, the mainstream and made people want to go out and start doing it. Guys like Gilbert Gottfried or Kevin Smith, Ricky Gervais, Bill Burr, Kevin Pollak. I mean, they've been doing this for, a number of years now, but going on. And Joe Rogan, I mean, he's got 8 million subscribers on his YouTube channel, and he, in our censorship episode that we have done previously, we talked about that kind of thing. Are people going to start moving away from these public platforms like this to do their own thing? Well, here you go. Somebody's, Spotify's handing Joe Rogan $100 million to go out and do that. Good on him for making a whole bunch of money doing what we're doing right now and not getting a dime for it. But I mean, it's kind of a catch-22. Like, it started out as kind of a niche thing, like something the everyman can do. I can't go out and get on the radio like my favorite DJs on their their talk shows every day, but I can sit in front of my own computer screen and do the same thing and make a name for myself eventually. But then you have people coming in, Kim Kardashian doing some stupid bullshit podcast that nobody's going to listen to. I mean, it's kind of muddying the waters and taking away the whole the facade and the intrigue of what actually podcasting is. I mean, you talk to somebody, the average person doesn't have a podcast, maybe have listened to one before, but you try to promote your own show on Facebook or Twitter and you get crickets, right? Nobody's hearing about anything that you're putting out, even though you're posting stuff constantly. But then you have these people, oh, Kim Kardashian has a podcast, I'm going to go listen to that. Jillian Michaels, oh, she can teach me how to work out without me actually having to get up off my ass and do it. I can just listen to her talk about it. So, yeah, I'm going to start roasting everybody right now because I'm pissed off. I'm actually pissed off because I don't want these freaking clowns coming out here and taking, the fun out of what we do and not seeing any kind of real profitability from it and going making hand over fist for something they have to put no production value or effort into. Just sit down for an hour, maybe once a week, and have everybody else do their work for them. So, I mean, it's the guys like us that have been, plugging away for 3, 4, 5 years or however long we've been doing it. So, I mean, for somebody like me or probably a lot of you guys too, I mean, we probably feel a certain kind of way about it. Sorry to go off on a tangent there. My full Dennis Miller there. I didn't mean to go off on a rant, but.
And yes, just to clarify my earlier point, so in 2018, Kim Kardashian, she petitioned to Donald Trump for clemency in the case of Alice Marie Johnson, who had served almost 22 years in prison as part of a life sentence for a non-violent drug offense. I believe that Johnson was, I think she was related to Kanye West or was a family friend.
She gets the credit for Trump's criminal reform bill, by the way. Which is funny to think about. Kim Kardashian brought it about.
Well, but regardless, so that's kind of but yeah, kind of to your point is it's not that she's going to be doing the podcast, like at home in her house, like 99% of podcasters do. From what it seems like she's working with a media production company who are basically going to do the work for her, and she's going to be the voice on it, as opposed to like a Joe Rogan, who that shit's homegrown as fuck. Or like a Larry King, who's got 150 years in broadcasting because the man's older than sin. Dex,
that's Jesus on the line.
Dex, I want to get your thoughts on this too. How do you see this as being? Are you kind of in the same ballpark as Sean? Is there a silver lining here? What do you think, man?
A little bit, where like you said, now it's just we have people in the world that we pay money just to do something. Like, hey, I'm going to pay you money. You just sit and talk, and they're going to make money on their end. But I think it's almost a good thing is because with the way technology is trending, everybody has a phone in their hand 90% of the day. Even when people are sleeping, they're falling asleep. Like, they have phones in their hands, they're going to be listening to something. So I see it almost as just a national progression of this is where it was going to go with technology. But I think with all these people now finding podcasts, like you said, if it's first time, it's, oh, this person's doing it. And then it's like, well, look at all these other shows. And you kind of hope that it's going to bring, some kind of good light to look at these people who've been around doing this forever. They're doing it in their homes. They don't have this $1 million production. And with the way some things are in the world now, people want to help smaller businesses or smaller communities. So it could be some kind of convergence here where it's a good thing. Even though, like you said, we're not going to make millions of dollars like Rogan got. But like you said, he started his... I remember, I've seen the first one. I've seen almost every one. Yeah. He literally was us with a really, really bad webcam, him and Brian, and just talking shit on, like, what the hell is it, live stream? I forget what it was. Yeah, live stream it, and it's just...
But even when you watch it now, like I still watch it. Those are some of the best conversation interviews you will ever see on the internet. His one I just watched with Ron White was fucking incredible. I could watch Ron White talk about dirt. Sean, I can't hear you.
Tater salad.
There he is. But what I love though is when you look at Rogan's show. Yes, it's come this way and all this way. And looking at what the article says here from the Guardian, it's estimated he earns between $50 to $250 million just in his podcast advertising. It doesn't include like the ad revenue from YouTube. But you look at his show, and what does he have? It's a brick wall, a butcher block table. They're fucking smoking and drinking. There's trash everywhere. Like it's not like that scene in Wayne's World where they get some money for the show and they're in this huge white studio and drinking to the camera. which is still my favorite scene in the whole freaking movie. I was like, oh man, I need some Pepsi.
I just think it's sad. It's got like a bag of Doritos and like a Nike hat.
Oh man, I've got such a headache. Here, Wayne, take some Advil. Oh, thanks, Garth.
I gotta go watch that.
They are the fresh maker.
But and same with Larry King. Larry King's a guy who has made his bones in this world, interviewing people for CNN and with his own stuff and making those weird ass infomercials for the krill oil pills, whatever. I run those all the time at work. But I see some semblance of a silver lining in this, and Sean will get your thoughts on this in a minute. But up until now, I mean, even now. Even though there are names like Conan O'Brien who are into podcasting, there's an official like Law and Order after show podcast produced by NBC that features the cast members. Like at the same time, podcasting is still kind of a punchline. It's not taken very seriously. I mean, we were talking about roasting earlier. I was at a roast last year at the comedy club here in town, and everybody knows I do a podcast, and they roasted me, just making fun of me because I have a podcast. Not jokes about the podcast. They'll just, oh, look, Mike's here. Mike's got a podcast. And it is still kind of a joke. You start getting these big names involved, though, especially now that Spotify is into the podcast game, and they're the ones who seem to be making these big contracts.
You can find all of our shows on Spotify as well. Mm-hmm.
It's like Spotify. You can find a lot of podcasts on Spotify. But if this is the kind of shit where suddenly people are going to start actually paying attention to podcasts now, Sean, do you think that could be a hidden silver lining in all this? Cannot hear you.
What do you do?
Sorry about that. I paused muted myself. To go along your points there, I mean, it could definitely bring awareness and, give some sort of clout to podcasting. Like you said, people rip on you for having podcasts. I mean, Bill and I both joked about setting up a little booth or a little table at each of our weddings and doing a live show from there, live stream. Yeah, Cinescape podcast live from the Tazi wedding here. But no, if any good can come of it, obviously, Spotify's, we're still waiting for our $100 million check to come from them as well. But if they're going to be throwing out big money to big names and it's going to get more people interested in podcasts, just so long as, they're not only listening to the big mainstream people, they're going out and supporting the little guys too. Oh, I see you've been posting about podcasting for the last 8 years. Maybe I'll check one out finally, So yeah, it's a one, glass half full, half empty kind of thing.
Dex, what about you, man?
Like I was saying, I think it's going to hopefully bring some good awareness, and some of the littler shows are going to
awareness.
Podcast hashtag make the shirt. But no, I think it will, and I really hope it does. And like you said, a lot of us, the littler guys, are going to get more exposure to hopefully a bigger audience.
And it's one of those things where I think part of the reason people, I think some people still don't realize, and I don't mean this in any way to demean what we do, I don't think they realize just how easy it is nowadays to do this. Like, to start a podcast and have it sound good, it's not as hard as it was 10 years ago. No. Hell, it's not as hard as it was 5 years ago. I mean, God, Anchor exists now, for crying out loud.
Yeah, I mean, right now, my setup, I have this mic, I have a webcam clipped to the top of my laptop, and then, we have we're using Skype, and then for my backdrop, or my backlighting, I have my phone, and I just have the light on, and it's sitting next to me, so you can see me. I'm sitting out on my porch right now.
I was wondering where the light was coming from, honestly.
Yeah, it's my cell phone light. Congratulations.
I do have a $10 stock lamp from Walmart that's behind my computer for when I do my morning show, because just it makes me look better in the morning, I guess. But today
it does.
It makes a huge difference. Because right now my head looks really shiny. My hair's
I'm sweating my ass off out here. It's so muggy.
But the point I make is, and I've done several, like, how to get into podcasting, how to set up studio episodes of my own show. I have considerable amount of money invested into my studio. I do that because it's a hobby of mine, and I'm a gadget guy. I like having my fancy toys. You don't need all this shit. It's pretty simple. And I guess the point I'm getting at is that people are gonna. I foresee a day where people are like, well, the reason Kim Kardashian's podcast sounds so good is because they paid all that money. It's like mine sounds just as good, and I do that shit in my mom's basement. It's not there. She's getting paid millions of dollars because she's Kim fucking Kardashian. That's all it is. That's all it really comes to. She's a name. She's a brand. But yeah. So like I said, we have Larry King, Kim Kardashian, whatever, Joe Rogan. 2 out of 3 is not a failing grade. But what I want to know. So now we've got these 3. Is there anybody out there who maybe a big name who doesn't have a podcast or has one that needs some more attention? I wanted to ask you guys, are there any that you think maybe could be the next big Spotify contract deal here?
I mean, I would say we're actively looking for that person to join the Cinescape Media Network.
I'm getting Sean a shirt that just says #shameless plug.
Exactly.
No, I mean, for myself, I really couldn't speak on to anybody out there that either has a show that needs a bigger audience or should be doing anything. I mean, I don't really focus on the whole celebrity podcast angle. Like, all the stuff that I listen to are like Game of Thrones, Song of Ice and Fire podcasts, or like video game playthroughs for like stupid bullshit computer games I play, or whatever, just like mindless stuff that I have in the background while I'm doing something. I mean, I'm not like super invested in anybody in particular, like as a person as their podcast. Just, I mean, if they have some good content and stuff that they want to put out there and I'm attracted to it, then I'll take a listen. But yeah,
is there one maybe like a smaller one that you listen to that you think more people should be checking out, that it maybe isn't getting the right audience?
Yeah, I mean, I listen to, like I said, Game of Thrones podcasts. I listen to History of Westeros. They put out a lot of good stuff, book related, show related, deep dives into characters and backgrounds and histories and lore and all sorts of stuff. So, I mean, if you're into Game of Thrones, I highly recommend checking them out. Maybe we can co-opt them and do some cross promotion or something.
Dax, what about you, man?
Nicolas Cage, and it needs to be called Caged In.
Oh, shit.
Yeah,
I don't know why. Just because he's always so out there, he really needs to have a podcast.
Wait, now hold on a minute. Can we create this show where we just like read Nicolas Cage lines in different movies,
so
spit out some like Nicolas Cage facts and stuff every show?
So I feel obligated to inform you guys. There was a podcast here made locally. It was called the Nicolas Cage Movie Review Hour. My buddy Kyle did it, and he went through and they did every Nicolas Cage film ever made.
That's awesome.
In chronological order, and they still every now and then put a new one out. Now they moved on to other actors, but yeah, every Nick Cage movie. When I had Kyle on the show, I basically just did a bunch of Nick Cage trivia. He actually did really well.
That's awesome.
It was glorious. I had to watch one for his show. It was called Running with the Devil. It came out last year. It was Nick Cage and Lawrence Fishburne as like heroin dealer or cocaine dealers. It was the weirdest fucking movie I've ever seen in my life. Yeah, it's just an interesting thing to see where suddenly the podcasting, Spotify and podcasting together have turned almost into it's almost like the cable access TV to the stars. It's independent programming, kinda, with a lot of name clout being thrown behind it. All in all, I think there's a lot of pros and a lot of cons to this. But like I said, I do still have, just kind of give my big final, not so much final thoughts, but overlying thoughts on this. I do have that worry. I do have that worry that suddenly this is going to become one of those things where suddenly all my friends are talking about so-and-so's podcast. Be like, I've had a podcast for fucking 5 years that y'all haven't given the time of day to.
Oh, I see it all the time. People recommend some good podcasts, and then you see ones from major stars and celebrities and things. I'm like, I've had my show for 3 years. Why don't you give it a listen? Let me know what you think. And then we never hear from them. So
Never.
Yeah. And I don't mean for this to sound so much like sour apples. I mean, I realize that it is a industry that we are involved in. So of course we do have some inherent bias, which is why I did want to make sure we did cover that there is some silver lining to this that could have some trickle down, even though that's kind of hasn't worked out. But
I got some stats for you, Mike.
Oh, do you?
I do.
I mean, with
Miami's got stats.
All right. So as of April, what's that?
This is the one math class I got to be in with stats.
So on April 25th, 2018, I believe by Nielsen ratings, there were 525,000 podcasts and 18.5 million podcast episodes worldwide.
That's just a number of podcasts.
Well, as of April 2020, that number has jumped to more than 1 million podcasts and more than 30 million episodes.
Yeah.
So, this is a very increasing hobby for people to be getting into, as we see over time. So I guess it's only natural that celebrities are wanting to jump in on the game and make some coin off of it, because they're really the only ones that are going to be able to do it. So, I mean, just throwing down some numbers and stats at you. I'll be honest, even 1 million seems low. Like it seems like there are so many out there, but the millions, down 30 million episodes that I buy. Right.
Half of which are just in the Cinescape Media Podcast Network.
Absolutely.
Shows, but I also wonder how many of those podcasts are dead. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Cinescape Podcast.
You gotta figure that maybe at least I'd say right around 10% of those million podcasts are probably no longer producing episodes too, is the thing. I've found many where I've searched for a podcast on a topic and I've been like, oh, let me check this show out, and they haven't put an episode out since 2015. Okay, well, Sean goes blurry, but Dex, how do those numbers make you feel? How do those numbers make you feel?
It shows exponential growth. It shows that it's there. But like you said, it's kind of hard to really fully gauge that when you don't know how many of those shows are still producing. Unless they put in some kind of thing of, well, they haven't produced in 6 months, so they're not an active show. What are those numbers? If you can show me those numbers, you can either still see that growth, which, like you said, could be good. Little networks like us could even be bought up. I think this was even brought up with Bill Burr and Joe Rogan when they were talking about his deal. How they're saying, don't give ownership of your show.
Yeah.
So, like, Rogan is just a licensing deal. You stay here exclusive, but you do everything else. Just stay the same, which is what you want. So, yeah,
that's what makes podcasts. That's what makes the podcasts that work is when it's an extension of the host, when it's something that you can tell they actually give a shit about and are knowledgeable of. That's why I look at these three that we mentioned at the top of the show. I look at the Joe Rogan, the Larry King, and the Kim Kardashian. Two of those are probably going to go. I mean, one of them has been going for a long time, but two of those are going to continue to succeed. Kardashians is going to flounder so freaking hard, it's ridiculous, because it's going to become really evident really quick she has no idea what she's talking about. Plain and simple, as opposed to a Larry King or a Joe Rogan. They're going to be doing what they've been doing for their entire career. Yeah. So that's going to be one. Pretty soon, Kim Kardashian's will be one of the ones that is like, is that one dead or alive? I haven't heard a new episode in a while. But honestly, that's why when it comes to podcast distribution apps, I love iHeartRadio, because in order to keep your show on iHeartRadio, you have to be dropping episodes at least once a week. You have
interesting.
They actually when you submit approval to iHeartRadio, your show has to be active for like at least a month, and it can't go more than like a week or 2 weeks between episodes, because that way if you stop putting out episodes, well, they're going to just pull you off the feed and not cloud up their server space with dead podcasts, which is what Spotify, Apple, or Google are all full of.
Yeah, definitely. Talking about podcast networks like the Cinescape Media Network, I mean, Dex, you had mentioned, and I think Mike, you did too, Rogan and when he had Bill Burr on a week or two ago, and they were talking about that very thing. Like Dexy said, making sure that you always maintain ownership of your own shows, which is extremely important. I mean, they were going on and on about, different deals that they had experienced where, company is trying to take, X amount of everything and really screwing them over. But I mean, at the same time, when you're looking at, major market level, podcast networks that are, giving out millions of dollars as compared to somebody, people like us, where we have our own little mom and pop homegrown thing that we're, growing right now.
Yeah.
We don't want to be, the machine. That's not our goal. We want to, bring in people and have, creative influence over them and have them have creative influence over us. And we all work together to help grow each other's shows, market each other's shows, and even jump on a show like this and create something brand new. So, I mean, if you're a podcaster out there and you're thinking of joining a network, or getting started up or whatever it may be, I mean, you're going to want to look for the people that are actually going to be out there looking to help you, because, if you can help somebody help themselves, they're going to be able to in turn help you down the line. So, you scratch my back, I'll scratch your kind of thing. So, that's the kind of relationships that we're actively trying to foster with the Cinescape Media Network, just going off of the whole podcast network kind of thing. So, I mean, if you're out there joining one, we're going to, give you some ad revenue sharing, whatever it may be, but then we're going to take this and you're really not going to get anything, but you're just going to be associated with us just to have your name out there. Well, I mean, what are you really getting then? I mean, is anybody looking at your show because, it's actually good, or they saw it on something and then they listened to it and it sucks? So, I mean, if, our motto is that we want to be particular about the kinds of shows that we bring on. We don't just want anybody sitting outside on their porch, with a pair of headphones and a flashlight looking at themselves doing a podcast. He sucks. So, I mean, people need to be particular if you're in that kind of, a realm, if you're just starting up yourself and you just dive into it full on and just do it because you enjoy doing it. But I mean, once you start getting more involved in the game, you're going to have to look to change things up.
Yeah, as somebody who ran a podcast network for a number of years, I can tell you, one of the benefits is that there is that interdependency, that kind of that camaraderie where you can have this team of creatives come together. But there is also that trying to make sure that your show still stands apart from all the other ones. And you brought up the point about making sure people still own their show. When we dissolved our network, one of the things I made sure everybody had was that they all got their shows back, because a couple of our shows were doing really well. We just weren't doing well enough to keep the network going. So when we dissolved it, it was like anybody who wants to keep their show, we set aside like a whole month before we shut everything down to make sure that everybody got control of their stuff back and got on the, we helped them get set up with stuff like Anchor or whatever platform they wanted to use. And so when I see these big deals going on, that does make me wonder, if Spotify is fronting the bill for this, Spotify is not a distributor. They're just a platform to listen to the show. They're not like a Spreaker or an Anchor, or like how the Cinescape does it, where we do all the distribution manually through our own website. So that does make you wonder. We know that Larry King, his is going through 4for4 Media, which is a newly a company that some friends of his formed. They're going to be 444 Media are doing it, but Kim Kardashian's and Joe Rogan's, they haven't really come out and said how. Joe's is still done through his website, but like the Kardashian one, like Spotify's not a distributor, so where's the show coming from? Is a new company going to have to be formed? Is there going to be a distributor? They're going, if they decide to go through Anchor, how does this affect Anchor in any way, shape, or form? It can create a domino effect.
Yeah.
So those are our thoughts. Those are my thoughts. Any kind of icing on the cake you guys want to drop on this topic here?
I just had another thing to bring up. I mean,
I know you had a bunch of stuff written down. I want to hear more of the stuff that you got.
Well, I mean, just podcasting in general, to the somebody out there who might be listening to our show wanting to start up their own show. I mean, if you're gonna get into this kind of a thing, you need to make sure you're getting into it for the right reasons. Don't expect to launch a show and then immediately have 1,000 downloads a week, and everybody's going to come knocking at your door and want to start throwing sponsorship money or advertising money at you to start mentioning their products, and you're going to be able to quit your job and live this luxurious lifestyle. I mean, that's just not that's not reality. When Bill and I first started the Cinescape podcast back in 2016, we actually kind of did it the opposite way, where right away we started on a network. We actually went into the Toxic Radio studios in New Jersey, sat down and used their professional equipment, had everything done for us. And over time, we were averaging 10,000 downloads a month. And we were paying $75 an hour for studio time, and we had to drive all the way down there. It was an hour each way, and take up pretty much an entire day's worth of time, investing and putting on the show. In the long run, I mean, it was fun, and we had a lot of great opportunities to go to press screenings and attend conventions for free and get on guest lists for things and all sorts of cool perks. But I mean, at the end of the day, we spent a lot of money creating and producing that show for as long as we did it, until we went rogue. So I mean, you don't need to buy the most expensive camera and microphone. Just make sure that everything looks and sounds good, and put as much effort into it as you think you should. And if your content is good and your delivery is good and people enjoy it, they're going to listen to you. I mean, you shouldn't be out there doing it because you're looking for a payday.
Yeah. Dex?
Yeah, and like even to follow on that, if you're gonna start it, it really is minimum investment. Anybody looking and watching us, this microphone was $35. Yeah. And I have it plugged into a mixer that you can get. I just saw one at a pawn shop for like $25. You don't really need anything crazy. It just plugs in.
Yeah, you don't need a Rodecaster or anything.
Yeah, you don't need to spend money. I mean, like you said, if it turns into a big hobby, like Mike has said,
yeah,
it's his hobby. So he continues to build in his studio. I do the same thing. I have, monitors and bigger mixers and microphones and things like that. The other thing that it hasn't been mentioned, but if you're going to start one, don't worry how you really sound on the first one. You're going to stumble. You're going to do this. You're going to do that. Go listen to the first episode of Suburban Paranormal. Yeah, that was pretty bad. The Suburban Paranormal podcast. I did that sitting in my living room with a cell phone earphone piece. And I just did it. Just do it. And the more you do it, the more comfortable you get listening to yourself talk, and can do these without having to stare at your notes. The difference between your first and like your sixth or seventh are completely different. And you just get more comfortable. So just go do it.
And you will make changes throughout
constantly.
I mean, I'm always changing the way I do my show, the way I do my live streams. I mean, it constantly changing, because you're going to eventually find something doesn't work the way you thought it did, or you're going to have a new idea. And when you're early enough into it, the risk is minimal, if non-existent. But any pro, whether it's Joe Rogan, whether it's Adam Carolla, whether it's the guys at the Schmodown, any of them will tell you, like, it takes years and a lot of luck and a lot of hard work to go pro. And I do kind of wish Bill was here. I mean, of course I wish Bill was here, but especially now I actually do. I wish Bill was here, because you would see kind of this all over transition of the levels, because Bill usually when he's on here is using like his headphone mic, his earbud mic.
I'm using earbuds right
exactly.
now. They're plugged into my mic.
And then you look at Dex, and Dex has like a $35 microphone, and the one that Sean is using is about $125.
My wife got it on a clearance sale. It was cheaper than that. It was like $60.
It usually, but the Yeti,
it's a little pricey.
Yeah, it's a good mic. This sucker right here was $400. Okay.
Oh.
Right here. But this is also like the microphone that like fucking Metallica uses to record stuff. I mean, this is like an industry standard. I hate to plug something that's not on the network, but if you check out the Basement Lounge, my other show, my main show, I did an episode on like how to get into podcasting low budget, mid budget, high budget. If you go and check out that episode, it gives you some tips on there. Go check it. But there's episodes of people's YouTube channels all over the internet of that. It's real easy to do God, there's an app you can get called Anchor where you can do everything on your phone for totally fucking free, for crying out loud.
Well, we should record our own, educational masterclass series on getting into podcasts
100%
and charge people. Yeah, we charge people for it. What do you think?
I actually do think doing a how-to podcast beginners series would probably be a good idea, actually.
That's stuff like that's the real only way that you're going to actually make money from podcasting. Nobody's going to pay you to do your show, right? Maybe you get, on Cinescape podcast before, we had a sponsor of a toy store who used to give us, $25 a month to, plug his store. You might find something small like that, or maybe somebody wants to buy ad space on your website for, pennies.
The most we ever had on the old network was our movie show. Once a month did a show called the show was called The Drive-In. And they did a show called The Drunk Drive-In where they would get hammered and review old shitty movies. And so the local
sounds like the Cinescape podcast.
so what the local bar did was basically the local bar would give them a free growler of beer every month.
Nice.
And for them to shout it out, which was fucking cool. And that if you do get sponsors early on, it'll be shit like that. Like, do your podcast and talk about how good our cupcakes are, and we'll give you a free, pack of cupcakes or some shit like that. It's not going to be money. Unless you're like me and you go the Patreon route, in which case, good fucking luck.
You know how many beers I drank on these shows over the years? Rolling Rocks. I actually tried reaching out to Miller Coors for a sponsorship because I drank so much fucking beer on our shows. They said no. But
I'm still waiting for Bullet Bourbon to give me a call and write me a big ass check, considering how much of their shit I drink on the air. But it's my favorite bourbon in the fucking world. I've got 3 bottles of it in the fridge. But
Bullet Bourbon?
I love bourbon, man. I'm a bourbon guy.
Oh, I drink it too. That's what I'm gonna say. So you said Bullet Bourbon? I've never heard that one.
It's
Bulleit, Bullet.
They're not. By the way, they're not a sponsor of this show. I'm just a fan. I'm just a fan. Could be. But Bullet Bourbon, this is the barrel strength kind. But yeah, you can, pretty much every bar should carry this, and this is what the bottle looks like. It is some smooth shit, let me tell you.
Investors,
just saying. Just saying.
Cough.
But podcasting, it's fun. Do it, kids. It's a lot of fun.
Everybody's doing.
And come do it over at Cinescape Media so that we can pad our programming bill.
Absolutely.
In the back.
All right, so I think we've kind of said everything there is to say about celebrity podcast deals and the good, the bad, the in between. I'm gonna turn it over to you guys. Any other little minutia going on you wanted to talk about today?
Oh man, I don't know. I got back to work.
Hey,
right now. Yeah,
good for you.
Hooray for me. Very slow. I think last week I had 13 hours, so it's a little slow going, but
there we go.
Thank you.
They
love me. Really love me. Yeah, that's it.
That's you, man.
Man, I just staying the same. They're really, there's not much you can do. I bought a van because I'm a dad with 3 kids.
Living in a van.
It's got TVs in it, though. I will tell you, it has auxiliary input, so I'm going to take a Raspberry Pi. I just got, it actually showed up right before the show, the T-Mobile hotspot for the car. It's called Synced Up. It puts a Wi-Fi hotspot. So that's going in the car, and then I'm going to sync my Raspberry Pi in the car so that the kids can stream Dexflix in the car while we're driving on some vacations.
Mike, you watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., right?
I do.
Dex is friggin' Sky from season 1, driving around in his fucking mobile van.
Absolutely is.
It's hacking network going on.
Absolutely is.
You never did drive-by hacking? Wait, no, you've got... Have you ever heard of that?
Drive-by hacking?
Drive-by hacking.
No.
Dear Lord.
I'm not a criminal, Dex.
I'm not a criminal either, even though I did just get my license back after 6 years. But no, drive-by hacking. You would use like GPS plugged into a laptop, and you could drive around, and there was a software that would map all the open Wi-Fi networks. So people that just would buy routers, plug them in, and leave the default settings there. Never put on WPS or anything. You could see in the area who has what. So like people would drive around, you could pull up and be like, oh, I know this is an open hotspot. And you would just change their Wi-Fi router, their password, what it said, and then just drive away. People used to do it all the time.
That's terrifying.
Some fucking degen from Oklahoma is sitting there writing that shit down right now.
Wait, what was step one again? Buy a van?
Oh man, I gotta see if I can find it. With when we were in high school and we were doing it, someone drew a picture. Our one buddy, my best friend, actually, his dad was a locksmith, so he had this big brown locksmith van, and then we drew it with like a satellite dish on top and stuff. Yeah, people used to do that.
Just driving around with like an 80s style airbrush, like mythical creatures, like dragons.
No, it's all chromed out though.
It's
got chrome everywhere. And put this picture, I think, in one of our chats. Yeah, the van's all chromed out.
Time he opens up the door, just a cloud of smoke just comes out.
Yeah, it's a mystery machine. That's great. Like realizing all the stuff from our youth, of all the fucked up shit in our cartoons and stuff. Like, the whole Scooby-Doo gang, they were all getting baked before going out and finding, fighting crime and shit.
Just smoking. They're like, yeah.
Yeah, who wants more Scooby snacks? I know I do. That's great.
Shit. All right. Well, let's table this discussion for now, guys. I think we've covered a lot. Sean, where can the good people find you online? Where can they find you over on Cinescape Media, man?
Controlling all the different streams over there. All Cinescape Media, Cinescape Podcast, Eagles and Nest, putting out everything. Whatever I can, making sure Dex is doing his job. Just find me somewhere.
And Dex, the only reason any of this shit's even possible, man. What about you?
Absolutely.
Super Paranormal on Facebook, Twitter. We're always doing something. I know my dumbass the last episode did say that there was going to be an episode, but I didn't realize that was Father's Day weekend, so that was my bad. There will be an episode this week, but I completely. I'm just sitting there. I'm like, oh shit.
That was kind of same for me, as I was getting ready to do shit on Sunday. I was like, it's Father's Day. Okay, never mind. I'm not a dad, but I had shit to do.
Yeah.
Bill, and you guys can all find Bill in the back corner of a dive bar, checking out the cheerleaders talking about, man, if I was just 10 years younger. Oh.
We'll be waiting outside a local Levittown bar waiting for karaoke to start.
That picture of Bill looks like that picture we have for Bill looks like the guy who hangs out after Hooters is closed because he thinks the waitress was actually hitting on him.
He looks like he got caught taking a dump. Like he looks like he's sitting on a toilet and like somebody caught him in the act. Oh,
it looks like the guy who stumbles home drunk from a bar and has to pee and then stops at like a children's park and pees on the slide.
He looks like he's taking a liberal arts class in college. You pretentious fuck.
He's the guy in your dorm building with the hot plate who's making grilled cheese sandwiches and selling them for $1.
Nah, he's the RA.
Oh shit!
Lights out at 10.
And you guys can find me hosting Mixtape Radio every Monday. All the social medias at Mixtape Radio. Jesus Christ. Bill's gonna quit. Bill's gonna quit. So fucking. Bill's never gonna miss a show now after this. Sick or not, he'll be on his deathbed, fucking signing in on his phone.
Yeah, that's real great. Rip it on me when I'm done on the show.
All right, guys. If you guys want more, if you guys really, for some reason, want more of this nonsense bullshit, head on over to Cinescape.media or check out all the other cool shows and content we've got over there. Cinescape.media. Check out the podcast feeds, the YouTube channel, all that good stuff. With that being said, thanks to our co-hosts, our panel for today, and we will see you guys again next time. Take care.